Yeah, when Alan was there, Liz and Joel were both on the station, but they were supposed to keep out of sight. Liz would come in and do the weather and then sprint out so she wouldn't be subject to the travail that she might have to endure if she stayed around where Alan Douglas was. And Joel always did the news from another place. And when I went there, I felt I knew both of those people very well. And when I went there, I said, well, come in and sit with me. And that's what transformed the show. The three of us sitting there every morning and having fun with each other. We knew each other. We liked each other. The chemistry was good. And somehow or another, not wood, it worked. And we were all astonished.
Wow. And it did work.
Yeah,
it worked for a
did.
long time.
Yeah.
And you transcended the 70s and you went into the 80s. I mean, was it easy for you to make that transformation into the different decades? Because the guests would change.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we'd stay in touch with what was going on in the world. We had bright producers. Bill Baker was there initially. He left, and Susan Smetana took over. And we had a whole bunch of really, really good, smart producers who always brought in good stuff. And we'd sit around every morning after the show and say, what'll we do tomorrow? And we'd come up with something, and somehow or another, it would work. And we just dealt with the issues that were going on at the time. We didn't even have to think about it. They were in our heads anyway because of what we were doing, where we were, the environment we were in. It was always full of ideas, and we had no trouble.
Being very loquacious, I mean, it just flowed naturally for you. You just were able to talk like you and I are speaking. And we just went over stuff, and that's what it sounded like to me. And who are some of your favorite guests that have been on the show?
Oh, gosh.
And there's been a lot of good ones.
Yeah. Well, the other day, I just saw in the paper that one of the doctors that we had on initially, in the very early days, all of a sudden, you talk about getting old, I'm blanking on his name for the moment, but he died at the age of 83 the other day, and he was a doctor that we had on.
Ted Costell?
Ted Costell.
Right.
And he was a doctor.
Oh.
He was a doctor who was comfortable with this microphone. And
I remember him very well. He was good.
He was very, very good and very smart. And so that was one of the first breakthroughs we made, to have him on regularly. And he enjoyed it, and the people learned from what he had to say. And then the guests just started coming in, you know?
One after the other.
One after the other. We'd get somebody and say, at the end, we'd always have a meeting to figure out, we'd give them a B or a C or an A. Every once in a while, somebody would get an A, but not very often. And we could look at the card later in the file and say, this guy got a B+, let's have him on again.
Oh,
and that's sort of how we did it. And
before computers.
yeah, before computers, yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Who are the A-listers?
Oh, the A-listers, well, I'd have to ponder that for a moment.
I mean, there couldn't have been too many.
Yeah, there weren't a lot, but you know, Ted Costell was obviously always one.
Oh, sure.
You know, if something would come and say, hey, we got a blank here, what are we going to do? Well, call Ted and see if he's available. and
Yeah, he's always the go-to guy.
Usually he was.
Yeah.
And there were a few others like that, and all of a sudden I'm blanking on who they might have been. Think about it, that's 1972.
I know.
A long time ago. You were a mere youth then.
Right, when Nixon was president.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
I remember the time very well. I was very young, but I do remember it.
Yeah.
Joel Rose and Liz Richards, I mean, these two were just fixtures with
Yes.
you. I mean, what was Liz's background, and what do you think made her so good?
It was just magic chemistry. You know, she had come out of college and was looking for something to do, looking for a radio job. And her dad actually sent a note up to Ernie Sindelar, who was like the station manager, and said, you should talk to my daughter. She's going to be very good on the radio. And he made a date for her to come up and talk to Ernie, and Ernie said, well, we'll give it a try. And somehow or another, she came on the air, and it worked. And especially it worked when Alan left, and Joel Rose and I came onto the show, and then the three of us would sit down every morning right beside each other and chat for the opening of the show. And that was the magic that really made it work from the
People
very
felt
beginning.
comfortable. It was like you were in their living room.
Yeah, it's like
It's magic.
they're our pals.
Right.
Yeah.
And how did you begin, Fred?
I started in radio in Charleston, West Virginia. I'd come out of college, and I was commissioned in the Air Force through the ROTC, and I was waiting for my call, and I was looking for something to do until my call came.
Right.
And somehow or another, my uncle, who was a radio disc jockey down in Charleston, he enabled me to get an interview with the program director of a local radio station down there. And they said, okay, you can come in and, you know, we'll use you as a fill-in. And I came in and I started doing the talk between the segments that were prepared.
Right.
And somehow or another, it sort of worked. And I just became a larger and larger part of that particular area. And then by that time I'd gotten married, I'd had a kid, and we were expecting another one, and I figured, I got to get into a bigger market. I can't live on this kind of money. And it was like $30 a week or something like that. And
It's like,
which was
it's like college radio.
No,
30 bananas, I understand.
that's right. So I needed a job, and Cleveland was the only big town I knew, because I had come up here a time or two after a friend of mine came here for graduate school out of West Virginia University, and so I knew Cleveland better than any other big town. It's the only big town I knew, in fact. And so I started looking for work up here, and I finally got a job, and that's how I came to Cleveland in 1962, I guess it was.
62.
Yeah,
Okay.
a long time ago.
But a matching time, though.
Yeah.
I mean, when you were a musical group in the 60s, you know, you made it in Cleveland, you made it in the country around. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And at your studios, Channel 5, you know, later on, what year did you start at Channel 5?
See, I started there in 65.
Okay, the Upbeat show was going on.
Yeah. Hey, let's go. What's the Upbeat show? I remember that. You're too young to remember that.
Oh, actually, no, I do remember. I wish I was that young.
Did you have any favorite music, Fred? I mean, did you have any artists that you really liked more than others?
You know, I didn't pay much attention. I just listened, and I listened to everything, and I liked everything, and I didn't go out of my way to try to remember who were the good ones and who were the important ones and who were the ones that were big with the viewers and the listeners. I just didn't know. You know, I just did what came natural to me.
Fred, would you take any calls?
Sure.
Okay, if you'd like to talk to Fred Griffith, formerly of the Morning Exchange and Celebrity, you can call at 216-687-3515. You can talk to Fred. You're on the Ray Carnes Show. We shall return in just a moment, right after this ID.